Hey, what's going on? Hope everyone's doing well. I wanted to do this intro before you all actually listen to the podcast. So I was a guest on my friend Sean's podcast, Sensibly Cynical podcast. I'll be sure to put his link for the podcast in the show notes, as well as the actual previous episode that we did, which we both, I think, improved upon our recording and our skill set with how we do podcasts since then. So I wanted to be sure that I give you all a little bit of context. This podcast is somewhat going to be similar to ones that I've done on the regular with the weekly information, the sports stuff, video games, things of that sort. But it's just more on it's very sports based, but also just kind of talking about life. And it was fun to be a guest on the show because I'm still looking to expand that horizon to be guests and be as I like to call it, be a B mic on someone else's show. Hey, even open to being a B mic on my show. I've told people this multiple times. If you want to come on and you think this is something you might be able to do, then you just have to know what suits you and what's best. So that's kind of where I'm at and how I'm looking at it. So you all, like I said, enjoy the show. Definitely tune in. It's a good show by far.
This episode is brought to you by the RVA Podcast Network. Find more information at rvapodcast.org.
We do not own the rights to anything or any music that's heard during the duration of this podcast. Also, a lot of these shows will have explicit content. So if you are not a fan of any cursing or profanity, you may want to walk away, but that does not mean that every show will consist of such. What's good, y'all? It's season 5 of the Past BT Pod with your host, BT. We have a new season here, and it's time to get this show going. As you all know, we talk about sports. Sports won't be as big of a carrier this year. I think we'll be carrying more towards the stuff. And predominantly on the sports side, you'll be hearing more from the musical aspect. But we will still be talking about technical. We'll be giving you the video game content. I will still be going over the ass of the week. We'll definitely be passing the message. You'll be getting an angel number, and you'll get quite a few gems. So sit back, relax, take your time. Don't waste your time. This is the Past BT with your host, Brian.
Currently in its 5th season. Brian, what's going on, buddy?
What's good, man? Thanks for having me back, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, it's been a minute.
I know it's definitely been a minute, and I know like I said, we've been trying to get this. I think you've been trying to plan this with me since like March, and everything that has happened is happening. So I'm just like, I'm glad to be on, man. Thanks for having me back.
It's like fishing, man. When you want to get that big catch,
yeah.
You just keep putting the bait out there.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
No, man. So, how's everything going with the podcast?
It's actually been going pretty good. Like I've gotten so to backtrack a little bit, my routine altered big time. From when I was on, I think at that time I was still trying to get everything in order of how I was going to do stuff, like whether I was going to record every week, every other week, things of that nature. And a new opportunity came up for me on a personal level, which was just a blessing by itself. And as soon as that came in, I was able to start getting into, typically on Saturdays, I'll record. And, of course, our favorite phrase, COVID, slowed a lot of stuff down, but I've now got a routine more consistent. So I'm able to like setting up. I don't know if you've seen it or not on my personal Instagram. I've now got like somewhat of a like almost like a desk area where I can literally just sit here and just go. And it's already got my mic set up and everything. So I don't have to do too much other than just connect the microphone, connect the headphones, and then, all my other accessories. But the rest of it is just natural. So now I'm able to get, sit down on the get down. And I'm doing coding now. So that's been a new world or new venture. But yeah, like as far as the podcast itself has been good, man. I'm beginning to get back into my element of doing podcasting and actually enjoying it, and it's fun.
Yeah, man, I've been wanting to tell you this for a while. I've always appreciated our friendship, man. I know, we obviously social media, and I said this on an Instagram post promoting, Ink Panda, who's having her new podcast on this, I guess I'll call it a network. Now, social media has a lot of negatives, but the positives, in my opinion, outweigh them. Right. And you've always been real with me, and, I appreciate that.
Yeah, no doubt, man. Like I said, I think I personally look at it like this. Like, you gotta value what you can from who from who you run into. Like, I know a lot of times you'll go live and I'm like, man, I want to get in the live. But most of the time I'm either in class or I'm like, I can't get in right now because there are some good conversations that we have, and I'm a blind switch gears, but I'm not going to take this as a pull. I'm just going to ask you this question. So hold it in your head. If you answer it at any point, it's fine. Think of your personal top 5 in any order albums that you can play or listen to from start to finish. And it's no particular order. I know I'm throwing that in there as like a wild question, but it's something that just popped in my head and my friend asked me today. So I'm going to hold that one over your head.
Yeah, well, I can name a couple off the bat. Can I do that?
Yeah, that's fine.
Metallica, the Black Album.
Okay.
And then Blink 182, Enema of the State, I think.
Okay.
And then I'll actually do a third because, I'm into all over, man. I'll listen to rock, rap.
Yeah.
Anything in between except opera, I don't mess with opera.
Right. Yeah.
But what was 50's album when he had In the Club, and what was the other songs?
Get Rich to Die Trying?
Yeah, that was it, man. Wanksta and stuff like that,
Yeah. Okay.
No, because I got that a lot, like, because, I grew up in the, like, late 90s, early 2000s, but with the baggy shorts, the wife beater, I had it all, man. The chain.
Right. Yeah.
Well, I got the W word, if you know what I mean. So.
Yeah, no, I get it.
So I got all that, and I didn't care, man. And then when I got into high school, that's when I met like all my rockers kind of friends.
Right. Okay.
But like my roots are like Eminem and people like that,
Yeah. Okay. Got you. All right.
So,
go ahead. Cause I know we had talked about it off mic, so I'm not sure if I'm leading or if we just gonna freestyle. Cause like I said, I got a good queue of topics that have hit, especially you being from the area of one topic that I'll hold. But,
by the way, man, I'll be visiting Richmond in a couple months, man.
Okay. Say less. Like if you roll up this way, just let me know. Cause if anything, I could easily say, hey, I can make a day open and like link up and do something since outside is beginning to open, quote unquote. But yeah, I'm not as long as I've known, like for the longest time, and this is something that I've been getting into more lately, is for a minute, I've always claimed myself and thought I was an introvert. And oddly enough, I think podcasting and just other things in life have kind of exposed the obvious, which is I'm not an introvert. I'm more extroverted than I realize because I really do, I connect with people, and a lot of people connect and gravitate towards me, for their weird and odd purposes, which I'm appreciative and grateful for by far. So I just, I just know how the flow goes. So I ain't really too stressed about it.
Yeah, man. Well, I wanted to ask you, what's your thoughts on like people? Do you think people like strive too much about? Actually, I'll take that back. Do you think there is anything such as like inner peace, or is that just one's like perception on like inner peace?
Inner peace exists if you allow. Yeah. So how I can answer that is inner peace exists in you allowing it to exist. And that's been something that lately, so I'll answer that in a very unpacked manner because you follow my page, and most people who follow my personal page are beginning to see that my page went through a transition unbeknownst to me. I'm gonna just say it just like that. And a lot of it had to do with I had to think different. I had to act different. I had to react different. I had to approach things with a different eye and with a different ear and with a different space. And it's not like I'm holier than thou or I look down on people or anything of that nature. It's more so it becomes a much bigger challenge when you know what you're trying to do. And there are those who are going to support it and say, hey, I like what you're doing. I see where you're going. Keep up the energy. Like I had somebody the other day so for the month of May, and a lot of people may or may not have paid this any attention. I've been posting because at one point I was always posting the inspirational quotes on my page. But for May, I was like, you know what? I'm going to do something different. I'm going to put the quotes on my page, but I'm going to put them as green, and I'm using the color green that's representing mental health. And so every day I have 2 widgets on my phone, and I will literally, whatever the quote shows up for that day is, I will post them. And I've had people be like, you don't understand how much a lot of the posts that you've been sharing have been like very inspirational. I never thought, like, I didn't put as much thought into it as people, like a lot of people think, oh, I'm sitting here and just meditating, this playing. No, it's been me going with where life is taking me. Like, so going back to the inner peace part, my inner peace has been attained or picked up more through just reacting. Like, I don't react to things as much. Like, now granted, I'm human. It's moments that I let off and go off the handle with the quickness. But I also know when it's like, all right, this ain't my fight. I need to sit back and let this be what it is. And I've noticed that in doing that, the times that I've needed to be the driver, I stepped up and became the driver. And the times when I was like, you might want to let this one go, I've let it go. And letting that go led to other things being introduced or being invited.
Yeah, because you're right. I've been, keeping track of your page, and you do a lot of interesting things that I can correlate with. Like for me, unfortunately, during this time of COVID, a lot of people are soul searching, because the unfortunate amount of, loss and grieving. So right. I think a lot of people are doing introspectives on themselves.
Yeah.
It's because all the time indoors and stuff. Because what's interesting about this is United States, 50 states, and each state pretty much has their own policy on, masks.
Yep.
Yeah. You know what I mean? That's what makes it interesting.
Yeah. And I mean, the tough part of it is, you bringing up COVID brings up a very pivotal thing. When this first, and I'm open to saying it because it's not a big deal. I work in the healthcare. I work in a different part of the healthcare now, which I value a lot more from what part of it I was in before. And I'll leave it at that without that personal part being shared. But I'm saying that and bringing that to light because at one point, and I think that was one of my unexpected turning points that I think a lot of people don't realize. I had experienced what's called COVID fatigue. And when I had it, and it's not something that it wasn't me sitting here saying I self-diagnosed or anything of that sort. It was just me assessing how this has had an impact on me on a mental level, on a physical level, on an emotional level, just dealing with it through everything. When the pandemic first started and when it all, they were first saying to us, like, everything's about to change. You're going to be doing things a lot different. There's going to be social distancing. I was in school. And I can recall when they were telling us about this and they were saying, okay, are we going to have the school open? Are we going to have the students work from home? How is this going to work? And when they told us that we were working from home for the class, excuse me, when they told us that, I was like, word, I'm ready to work from home only because I only had like a couple terms left. So they started it like around March or April. By May, I was done. So I just needed those 2 terms to just kind of coast through and be on my way. Well, going through the classes and going through the process, it was a huge adjustment for a lot of people because a lot of people didn't have that. They relied on the in-school appearance or the in-school presence because, hey, if I got a question, I got concerns, I can go to this person and get help and get assistance. Fast forward a little bit, still working in what I was doing. Like I said, I'm not going to say where I was or what I did, but I was in ground zero. So I call it ground zero because the area that I was working in and what I was dealing with, you could get someone, you may pick up someone to go for a certain thing, and you might take them to that area, and then you turn around and they say, oh, by the way, this patient had COVID. And you're like, oh, great. Well, no one was going to tell me. Like, I'm glad y'all are figuring this out and putting it all together. So we pressed through the year. Like I said, we're looking at like April, May, June, July, rushing through September, all the way to the end of the year. The end of the year, and I think I put this in a post, but I put it very subliminally because I didn't want anybody in my business. In the middle of December, I got COVID. And I don't know, I'm not here to tell anybody about whether it's real, whether it's not real. If you choose to take the vaccine, all of that is personal perspective and opinion, and I respect it on every level. But when that personally happened for me, I didn't have any symptoms. I was health-wise, I've always been in good health. The only thing that has been out of control for me recently is just weight. And when I say weight, it's not like I'm fat, but it's more so I've just gained more weight than I'm normally accustomed to carrying. So it's like now I've got to get myself back on track, which I've been working on this year, going back to what you said about, having to improve yourself, having to put yourself in the right, attitude, right state of mind. So when I found that out, go ahead.
No. Go ahead. I'll let you finish.
No, you good. So when that happened last year, that took a lot of, like, that ran me, like, I already had hit COVID fatigue a couple of weeks before I found that out. And everybody asked me the same question. It was like, why'd you decide to go take a test? What made you think you needed a test? And I was like, a friend of mine asked me to take it. I went ahead and did it. I found out I was positive. It happens. It's not the end of the world. It shut me down for 2 weeks, but it shut me down with a different attitude and a whole different way of seeing life and just handling life. And that, even in it happening at the time last year, like, Kobe had passed before COVID happened. So I was beginning to learn and understand a lot clearer what the term the Mamba mentality meant. So I'm going through that also, and like, I'm trying to be the best version of me. I'm trying to give my best to everybody. I'm trying not to leave anything behind. I want to put it all on the line, which I did. And for the most part, there weren't any punches that I held back when deemed necessary. Fast forward through the new year starts. Everybody's on this new year, new me wave. And I'm like, oh, here we go. And for me, I just was like, I'm going to improve upon whatever I didn't get accomplished last year to get done this year. Start the new year off, couple months in. I had already made a transition in my position, which wasn't the best thing at the time, but I did it because I was looking for something greater. And it led to me getting the opportunity I have now where I'm in, like I said, I'm still in the healthcare. I'm on a whole different avenue with what I do, but it's made me understand where logic can make or break us without us knowing it. And that's been what has put me in a more calmer place with things. Like, something to some people, it's weird, but to me it's cool. Like, when I put up posts of me wearing, my glasses, I've never had an issue with my vision, but lately I've been doing this job and I'm like, I sit at a computer all day. And now, because of what I'm doing in learning coding, I'm in front of a computer all day. So I have to keep a pair of gaming glasses nearby because I'm not trying to lose my eyesight from typing on the screen for X number of hours a day. It's not worth it. So in a roundabout way, it's about, like, the world has changed, and some of us are changing with the world, and some of us are like, you know what? Whatever I was doing before, I'm going to just stick to doing that. And it's cool if that's what's working for you. But some people are making changes because they need to make changes. And most importantly, to add to the point that you brought up, and like the biggest thing about this is a lot of people got forced to think in ways that they haven't thought before because of this pandemic. Because now you've been put in a position of isolation. You've been put in a position of social distancing. You've been put in a position of, instead of being so close to everyone, take time to yourself and be considerate of other people. It's a lot of things that we knew how to do this, or we understood it as a kid. But now that we're put in a position of we have to do it, it's like, you know what? I never thought about that before. Let me actually take time and like not stand over somebody's back and breathe all over them while they're in line trying to get groceries. Or, you know, when you're, and this is, I'm going to say this last thing, and this is like the key part of it. Before this pandemic happened, everyone just walked around and we all did our regular things, right? Did you notice that after when the pandemic first happened, after some time passed, we saw the plexiglass go up, we saw, you know, different things to make us aware. The one thing they did that still sticks out to me to this day is they put the social distancing signs in the one place where everybody can see them, on the ground. This ain't no stay woke moment. This is not anything to make any conspiracy theories. It's just you really looking at where things carried us. When most people are going through their days, through their lives, what are they doing? They're on their phone. So if you're on your phone, the one way to get a person's attention is by putting a sign on the floor to say, hey, stand right here because you're too close to the person in front of you. Very few people measured the 6 feet distance of the button of those signs, but that's another story. But for the most part, like literally you had to put those down to get people aware of how much it was important to like really keep distance between people. That's all I got. I know I like went on a tangent, but
No, it's fine. So what did, like, I know you talked about the mama mentality. What did being mean to you?
So for me personally, I grew up, like I literally watched Kobe's entire career. His rookie year was my like 9th grade year of high school. So I practically saw his entire career from the time I started high school until almost the time that I was like working, because I think he retired in 2015 to 2016. I can remember, because if I was doing, now granted, podcasting wasn't a thing when I was in high school, but having content and really talking about podcasting, I would have made a lot of content just off of things that he had done in basketball. There are a lot of ceremonial moments that people don't understand. Like, yes, did he mimic a lot of his game from Jordan? Of course. But if you really look at how he played the game, he was the definition, in my opinion, of what you call doing it his way. And his way worked. Like, there aren't many guys in the NBA, and I'm going to make sure I say this right because a lot of players have won championships, but they didn't win the champ. They were a key factor to the championship, but they weren't the guy of like, hey, this is why the championship came to this team.
Yeah.
Kobe was a big impact to all 5 of those championships. I'm making this 100% clear. So if any of your listeners hear this, I'm saying this because I want them to hear. And if anybody who listens to my podcast and me holding this audio hears this, I'm backing this as well. I'm taking absolutely nothing away from Robert Horry. I'm taking nothing away from Shaquille O'Neal. I'm taking nothing away from Derek Fisher, Rick Fox, Pau Gasol. Even when he was playing like trash, Andrew Bynum. None of those guys will get ignored in the earning of what they've done to help these teams. But if you really look at when it came down to the game is on the line, we need to get a bucket and we trying to win, Kobe literally said, give me the ball and let me go to work. And that's pretty much what he did. And it's those moments of why he made such a big impact. He's going to be an impact on the game and a stamp on the game no matter what anybody says. The whole changing the logo thing, that's another conversation, but it's not that deep for me personally. But in hindsight, I mean, the dude was a monster. And then, like I said, growing up and watching him, and even in his, nearing the end of his career, I didn't hear or know much about the understanding of the Mamba mentality. But after and, really reading it and really understanding it, I embrace that as being part of my life. I made that one of my key mantras. Like every podcast, I would literally be putting in the middle or near the end of the show, a constant quest to be the best version of oneself. That is the thing that is like, we don't understand how simple that sounds, but how pivotal it becomes on our life in doing something that key to growing and becoming better people. So his impact on the game, his impact to me as a person is like hands down, like top 10, top 5 almost. So I feel, a lot of deaths have happened and I ain't take them well. His passing did not hit well for me at all. And it was tough because even when I found out, I was in the process, and at the time I'm like, all right, I'm gonna start learning how to do what I call bullet journaling. And I was like, oh, I'm gonna do bullet journaling and figure this all out. I'm reading a book when my friend told me about the story, and I had people who don't watch basketball telling me the news, and I'm just like, nah, you lying. I literally recall going to Starbucks and like I opened my book, I got my markers, and I started planning. And that's been something like even now, like after this podcast, that's something that's been missing for me is the learning of planning. So it was a lot for me, but it definitely is an impact that a lot of players in the league, like the NBA got affected by this. Like there were games that were supposed to happen and they was like, nah, we can't let these guys play. LeBron was making it clear he was not going to play. He played, but the first couple games, he's like, nah, I'm good. Like this, it was too much. Like, I think that's the toughest part because of social media. We like are waiting for that reaction. Like, I'm glad, and this is a totally different conversation thing, but I'll bring this up real quick. Terrence Clark, when he passed, everybody wanted to sit there and think, okay, well, what is Brandon Boston going to say? Or what is BJ Boston going to say? And I was like, why does it matter? Let him grieve. Let him go through this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that's where I'm at with Kobe.
Do you think LeBron kind of picked up the torch a little bit?
As far as with the Lakers or
Well, all of above.
With the NBA?
All of above. Like, do you consider him more of, Michael Jordan's personality or Kobe's?
And you know what? I'm glad you asked this because I've watched, like, I don't know if you watch or listen to them. Brandon Marshall, they do a podcast called I Am Athlete, and I've been catching up on different episodes. So I catch some shows here and there.
I think I've heard maybe one episode, and yeah, it's got quality content.
Yeah, I'm gonna tell you this, and this is just my recommendation. Every Monday, they usually will do like a new episode on YouTube. Personally, they are a podcast that I will watch and literally be like in tune with paying attention to what they're talking about. Cause they have very open conversations about the real world, even as athletes. And I mean, I'm not taking anything away from them athletically, but I just look at it as overall their views of the sport. It's not to be taken lightly at all. But I bring them up and I say this because they were having this conversation about who's the GOAT, who's better, Kobe, LeBron, Jordan, LeBron, who's better, Jordan, LeBron, who'd you choose? And a lot of them, it was a mixed group. Like some are looking at Jordan, some look at LeBron. To say who LeBron takes a lot of his game from, the main observation is he picks up a lot of Jordan's game. Based on the number, based on the swag, based on the personality, based on the shoe. A lot of those things easily were from Jordan, what he got from Kobe is the fight. He got, and I know a lot of people look at it as what's affected LeBron the most is the killer instinct. But if you really look at it, LeBron's different. LeBron's factor is that he's more aligned with, I'm about making the players around me better. But if the players around me aren't doing what they're supposed to do, then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to play. And I'm throwing this as an example, but it's just something that you have to look at. If you look at the team last year, what helped him win a championship was not only having Anthony Davis, but having those players like a Taylor Horton Tucker, or having a Rajon Rondo, or having the Morris twin there. Like, it's different guys who were on that team that were beneficial in that run. Granted, yes, LeBron did his part, but you can't. It comes down to like what we always hear about and what's always said is like, it's a team effort. So you need the team to get to that level. Like, LeBron can score 40 points a night, but if he ain't got nobody else to take pressure off of him after he gets his 40, it becomes a long night for him. And we've seen that multiple times shitty example, but a valid way to look at it. The series they played against Golden State, and this was the year they had Durant. Game 1 told everybody everything they needed to know about this series. The Lakers pretty much had the best chance and the strongest opportunity of winning that game. I'm sorry, not the Lakers, the Cavs. The Cavs had the strong opportunity to win that game. Who was it? It was someone from Cleveland it was George Hill, I think. He shot a free throw, missed the free throw. J.R. Smith gets the ball and was ready to it was like J.R. Smith had an algorithm right there on the court. Because I think the game was tied. And it was like, he didn't know what to do. And then it made it a more frustrating situation because here it is. You got LeBron doing a press conference about this. And all he's doing is like getting asked the same question over and over to the point where he's telling the media person, do better tomorrow. Like, that's still one of the most ceremonial moments that we will hear about in basketball. But I bring that up. I bring that to the equation because LeBron did everything he could that game and they lost. So it's like, you have to have the other guys do their part to help your team get over the hump.
Yeah.
I don't know if I answered that question or not, but
no, you did, and I'm about to shock the hell out of you and your listeners. I thought of I guess fourth album.
Okay.
You ready to be flabbergasted?
I'm all ears.
All right. Fan Mail by TLC. There.
Over Crazy Sexy Cool?
Yeah.
Wow.
No. The one that has no scrubs.
Yeah, no, that's fan mail, but I'm okay.
I told you. Did I not warn you?
That's okay. I got no, cause I'm saying that like that because my boy, when he brought this to my attention, he said Crazy Sexy Cool. And when I really go back and listen to that, think of that album and how it was played.
Yeah.
That album had a nice little mix to it too. But yes,
right.
I will put fan mail in there too.
Yeah, if you think about it, Fan Mail was the first song off that album, and that was fire.
Right.
You know? I mean, everyone talked about like No Scrubs and stuff, but Fan Mail was actually a good song. The actual song.
Yeah. No, it was. The first single off of there was a good song. Like it was a lot of songs on there. Cause I think, that album, I'm not gonna play any music cause I don't want to deal with any copyright.
I wanted to surprise you with that. I think I did.
No, you did. Cause if you low key look at it, Fan Mail was on there. Silly Ho was on there. Scrubs was on there. Silly Ho, if you go back and listen to Silly Ho, it's one of those songs that like, it quietly aged well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'm going to think of a fifth one from a totally different genre. Because right now, all four have been different genres. So now I got to think of a genre I haven't brought up.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I'm with you.
No, I got to think about it. I got to think about the fifth one. But,
so now,
I don't know if you remember, but back in the day, you used to be able to rent CDs like through the mail.
Yeah, it was it CD Now?
Yeah, something like that, where you would be able to rent by, I don't know how many a time, but handful. And
I'm about to show my age
it was
because
like Netflix before Netflix.
yeah, but what I used to do was I didn't rent. I couldn't renting CDs was a waste of time. What I used to do is it was a company and I can't remember the name of it. They would send you this book and they would have a whole plethora of CDs on there. And you would just say, okay, I want all of these CDs. And they send them all to you. And you pretty much were like, it was almost like you were in a subscription club. And that honestly was how I populated my album collection or my CD collection. I don't have those CDs now. Thankfully, I was able to get everything ripped before I had lost all my stuff in storage like years ago. But
Well, I
no, go ahead.
lost all mine on an airplane. I left it on board.
Oh wow.
And I remember going home and I'm like, son of a bitch.
Yeah. So my tech tip to all of you who are listening is a 2% because y'all know I got to put some stuff in there somewhere. If you have something somewhere, make sure that thing is somewhere else. Meaning, for instance, if you have physical CDs, make sure if you were doing this at the time, you're good. If you can do it now, blessings to you. But be sure that you can find a way to rip those CDs. Because if
Well,
you
now
have them,
it's saturated. You got Amazon Music, you got TuneIn. I
oh
could be
no,
on forever. Google Play Music.
yeah. And I'm gonna be 100% honest with you. And I'll say this because I can. And I love Spotify to death. Spotify has been my mood of all moods. I was on Apple Music for about 2 or 3 years. I was determined that I was not going to do a streaming service. I was like, I'm not doing streaming. Why would I pay for streaming? I have all the music I need. And I think I had, so what I did was somebody gave me like a card and they were like, hey, here are a couple of free months of Apple Music just to kind of mess around and like get comfortable with Apple Music. I was like, all right, sure. I already got Apple. It won't be anything like outrageous. When I found out how much music you could listen to and how many albums were available and just the setup, I was like, all right, I'm sold. So I stayed with Apple Music for a good amount of years and I still, I was paying them, every month. And then a friend of mine was like, hey, I got, I'm a Spotify girl. And I was like, all right, let me see what Spotify about. Spotify got introduced to me and literally I think my liked playlist alone is like over 1,300 songs.
What?
And I've been on
I'm more of a Pandora person.
And you know what? Pandora's a love-hate for me because Pandora gets it right, but Pandora doesn't do it right. It's simple because of the fact that it's free. Let me be clear.
I like it.
Yeah,
I had the $5 model where there was like unlimited skips.
Yeah, and see that's the thing. I think because I'm one of those ones, if I want to listen to an album, I want to be able to say, let me go listen to this album. Shout out to my friend Lilith who introduced me to something that I'm beginning to learn to be more aware of. Whenever we listen to music, our habits on certain things is let's shuffle it. And I was like, and I forgot the name of the movie, but it's a movie that one of the girls, she's like, I'm gonna look it up in a few. So I want to be sure that I give clarity on what I was referring to in that particular section. There was a TV series or a video movie, like a series that came on called High Fidelity. It was a Hulu original. It featured Zoe Kravitz, and one of the key parts of it that she referenced was about how whenever you play music or when music is played, it's meant to be played in order. And referring to the statement that I made about Lilith, or Cree, as most people may know her, she brought that to my attention of how important it is to, when you're playing a playlist, that it's put in order for a reason. So you don't want to shuffle through someone's playlist, especially if they spent hours, weeks, whatever mental time they put towards that. So that's just something to bring to the table. I wanted to add that in, and we'll continue, and we'll return right back to the podcast right now. Thanks. but she basically was bringing out the importance of whenever you listen to music, artists put their music in order for a reason. So when you're listening to it and you're like, oh, I'm gonna shuffle this around, they're like, you're not giving the actual music its justice in how it's being played. And that can sometimes, like, it doesn't frustrate the artist because they don't know it, they don't care, but it doesn't help flow the structure of, like, when Jay-Z made an album, he didn't make the album to be played out of order. He played it so that he put the songs in order for a reason. So yeah.
And the last album, what was that one? It was Snoop Dogg's older stuff. Winterland or Wonderland.
Okay.
You know what I'm talking about?
I couldn't tell you because there's so many.
One of his older stuff. I forgot. I think it's like something Wonderland. I think.
Oh yeah.
People listening are gonna correct me.
Was it Malice in Wonderland?
Yeah. I like that. I listened to the whole thing.
Okay, and that was it don't even seem like that was that long ago. 2009. No, it came out in 2009, but I'm just like, dang, I didn't realize that it's been that long since that album dropped.
Yeah, that was my jam.
Yeah.
So there you go. There's your 5. 3 rock and 2 rock, 2 rap, and like 1 R&B.
Okay. I'm with it.
So, yeah, man, but like 50 is my guy. Like when people say, can I talk about 50? Is that okay?
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, I'm a guest. I'm chilling. Like,
I'm probably the most I'm probably the biggest 50 stan, you know.
Yeah.
I think Curtis Jackson's underrated as shit. But that's just me.
Yeah, I mean, but that's something, like, I was, so on the way to link up with my boy for watching the soccer game, we had that conversation. I didn't have it with him, but it was something I was thinking about. I said, we all listen to music differently. So everyone's going to get something different when they play a certain album, even down to a certain song. Like my new thing now, and it's like, I'm telling people this. So anyone who hears this, if you come on my show as a guest, the first question I'm going to ask you is, when you think of the song Before I Let Go by Frankie Beverly and Maze, what comes to mind? And I'm looking forward to the answers that I get about that, because everyone gets something different from listening to that song. Like for most people, it's, oh, the party's over, they about to shut down and they're going to put the chairs away. For some people, it's, oh, you're at the backyard cookout and it's about to be this nice little lit playlist. And going back to Spotify real quick, one of my friends introduced, when she introduced me to Spotify, we collaborated and made what was called like a barbecue / cookout playlist, because I'm going to say it because we need to be real about where we at. Most people go to the barbecue. Other people go to the cookout. It's some songs that you play at the cookout that don't play at the barbecue, and it's some that's vice versa, and it's some that can intertwine in both scenes.
Hey, R.I.P. Nate Dogg, man, because he was on that 21 Questions track.
Yeah. He was. Yeah, Nate Dogg had a whole lot of he had a whole lot of good collabs on some music too.
Yo, when 21 Questions came out, that was like, that was the truth, man. Dun, 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 you know?
Yeah. And that's the other thing. Like a lot of artists from that particular space were starting to really sample music, but they were sampling it with the right ear. And that makes a big difference whether people realize it or not. Cause anybody can sample a song, but if you sample it and it's done correctly, that is what keeps people to come back. Like I've had people say this and I've heard it multiple times. A lot of people don't rock with a lot of the new music because they sample a lot of good songs, but it's not the same. It just don't have the same feel to it. Do
you think all the streaming services have kind of made it real easy for artists to just be lazy?
Actually, no, it's the exact opposite. I think artists now have to find a creative way to get, because you got to remember, and I'm semi freestyling with this, so don't any of my music fans do not come for me. Most artists, the true revenue or the true income hits on tours. No one's touring right now. So the only other option you have is your streaming services. Now, granted, like you said, if it's in a lazy sense of, okay, if I drop this album or if I drop this song, then I can get these streams and it'll make money. But a lot of times, whether we realize it or not, there isn't a lot of money in the streaming scene because not everybody streams music. Some people go to YouTube. Some people use YouTube and don't pay a dime. I'm one of those people. But I also don't, it's what you're using said platform for. And even down to listening to music, like artists have to find that way to, cause the main objective is I gotta find a way to get my song in your playlist and continuously be playing. Right. And if it does not happen in that manner, then that's where you can either be on fire or you can be irrelevant as all outdoors.
Yeah. And what's your thought, to go back to basketball for a minute, what's your thought like back in the day? I think the last time you were on the podcast, we talked about AI, you know, in the hip hop culture. That thing has kind of, like come back, I think, with all these sneakerheads and stuff.
So PJ Tucker, I'm gonna name a couple guys. PJ Tucker, Kevin Durant, DeMar DeRozan. I can't think of any other guys. Those are the first three that come to mind of like folks who have shoes. And it's the NBA is becoming more relaxed again. And I don't want to sound like this person to say it. I think when rest his soul, when David Stern retired, it was a changing of the guard, but it was also a reinvention of the wheel and a rebrand in its own right. You had different players, a different group of players sitting at the table. So there was a much bigger leniency of like as you could call it,
I said, man, you're talking to a guy who saw Larry Bird play, all right, with those tight shorts.
Right. I mean, you think of it like this. You look at some of the clothes like James Harden wears, Russell Westbrook, LeBron, and then some guys, because of how they dress just for pregame, like coming to the arena, their outfits, and then some of us like, man, this is the weirdest looking outfit. Yeah. But they spend like hundreds, if not thousands of dollars for that outfit.
You watch Inside the NBA with Shaq. They'll show videos of guys coming to the arena, bro. Yeah. And he'll be like, are those pajamas?
But that's where, and that's something with sports that I'm still trying to like get a handle on, is the generation battle, because here it is now. You have guys who have just, they're 10, 15 years removed from the game. And here they are looking at these guys who are coming into the game and they're like, these are the stupidest, weirdest, craziest looking outfits I've ever seen. How can y'all dress like this and like be athletes or, make an impact on the game? Because they're used to wearing suits and, looking, there was no such thing as business casual in the NBA back in the day. That's the best way I can describe it. Like, did guys relax a little bit on what they wore? Absolutely. But was it relaxing to the point that they didn't come to play the game? No, you was going to look right when you got on the court, because that wasn't, before you were getting ready to get on the court.
Yeah. So to me, man, like, I'm a Magic fan. I think I mentioned that to you before, man. So my days are the old Amway Center. So I've been through the heartbreak, man, of those 90s teams.
Yeah. I mean, same. Like I said, I was a Jordan respecter, but I was anybody but Jordan.
Well, Jordan and my Magic had battles. I remember those. I went to a game.
Right.
We had Shaq and Penny and everything.
So now I'm gonna ask you, because you're down there, and I don't know if I'm correct me if I'm wrong. You are a Miami fan or no?
Miami?
The Heat?
Oh no, I'm a Magic fan.
Okay, gotcha. All right. So were you pleased? Were you pleased that they got swept?
Oh, the Heat? Yeah. I don't like the Heat.
Okay. All right. No, I'm just asking. No, because
No, because I don't keep track of all the divisions and stuff. But
yeah,
last time I checked, is the Magic and the Heat are in the same division.
yes,
Now, I'm not a Heat fan. I know a lot of people, I'm in the border now. I'm in the Alabama kind of Florida border by New Orleans.
right.
And then I told you, did I say this off air or it doesn't matter? I'm going to
Okay.
Richmond in July.
Yeah. Okay.
So I'm excited about that because I was in Virginia for like 3 years. I didn't want to leave, man, but getting laid off kind of forced me back down.
Yeah, you gotta do it. Will work for your routine, man. Like
And it's going to be yeah, I'm up there for a wedding.
yeah.
So,
Now that you mentioned, I need to get back to. On a side note, I gotta. Once some things start moving again, I need to get back networking with. Because I was networking. So one thing on a podcast level that I'll share, and I'll talk about this on yours, and this will be, I guess, in my content as well, is I was very big on networking and connecting with other podcasters because it's not said enough or mentioned enough how important it is to find others who are doing what you're doing and can give you the $1 million information at a cost, at a fraction of the cost. Like I still to this day remember it was an event I went to here and we were, I'm sitting down. It was like a couple folks who, are like, hey, I'm doing podcasts and I'm doing this and I got this. And I think at the time I hadn't got my equipment down. Like the equipment I have now, I'm good with it. But the guy who led it was like, hey, I'm going to tell you what you should do. And this is going to be a good investment. And it's still on I want to invest in this. He was like, I got a mixer and he basically has like an old school mix amp and he uses that. He doesn't even have to hook it up to his computer. He will go up on stage with that. He'll go up with his microphones and the microphones are good enough quality where it will get the audio as necessary. And I was like, okay, I'm hearing him and I'm paying attention to how he's setting up. And so I saw him do his setup at like the place where we were at. They were going to do a show and I'm sitting there watching them do the show. And I'm like, this is pretty much like where I'm looking at my content going to I want to have, I'm like bringing my laptop and bringing the microphone and the stands. All of that's cool, but I would rather just have just whatever my mixer is that I'm using, which I'm looking at the one for Rode, I think it's the Rodecaster Pro. A friend of mine got that, and I'm like, I am definitely willing, because each time the stimulus comes in, I'm looking at it like, yeah, maybe I'll buy it, and I don't. But this time I'm like, if we get another one, I might take a chance. I don't know, because all I need is just that device, and I don't need, having 4 microphones is cool, but if I got 3, then I'm good. Like, if somebody needed to share a microphone, that's fine, but if worse comes to worse, I would rather just, because most of this, I know if anything, I'm at least need 2 microphones, because I'm always having people come on the show to talk. I know it was like a random segue of what we were talking about.
No, it's fine, man. I'm just appreciative of you taking time out of your long weekend to come on the show, man.
Yeah, no, man, listen, I'm glad. Like I said, I know we do our shoot the breeze and talk about different things, but I'm just, like I said, I'm working towards being a better me, just like I want everybody around me to do the same. Like, to return back to the internet.
Hey, I'm not trying to cut you off, man, but when we meet, shots are on me, bro.
Gotcha. Say less. Say less. And now, and it's funny because I don't really drink. I drink, but I don't drink as much now. But I still, if it's a good, it's a kickback and it's a good time and it ain't nothing but time and space. Hey, let's ride the wave. I'm here for it.
Hey, man, I mess with that. I mess with that brown liquor, bro.
I got a 151 tattoo, so just let that run its course. Like I have
151 story, but I don't want to bore you with it.
Mine's probably is worse. Mine might be yours. Like literally, I'm still surviving. I'm surprised that I'm still living. I'll just say that. Like I had 151
Me
and
too. Me too. I had quick story. So my 21st birthday. Actually, the bar kicked us out because I actually started partying. You know, like before it actually turned midnight on my 21st. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like I was technically 20,
yeah.
and they kicked me out because I puked in their balcony.
Oh wow.
So yeah, someone spiked my. They call. I don't know if they still have them anymore, but they used to call them in the South. They used to call them smithers, which are
Okay.
like small pitchers of beer,
Okay.
which is like basically like 2 beers in a pitcher, you
Yeah.
know.
Okay.
And someone spiked it with 151, I think.
Oh wow.
And I didn't know. I went to the bathroom and I came back and I'm fucked up anyway. So how am I going to tell, right? It's just
Yeah.
drink. That's the oldest trick in the book, man. So
Yeah.
apparently they bought 2 shots of 151 and dumped it in my smitcher.
Mm. Wow.
Or something like
Yeah.
that. And then
No,
like,
mine was 151 in Everclear. I don't know how I lived to tell that tale.
oh, grain.
Huh?
I said, that's grain, right?
Man, Everclear is nuts. That joint is
Grain though, right? It's literal grain alcohol, right?
it's very like I don't even think I've since that time I don't think I've drank Everclear again ever. Like we've gone to places that had drinks that were similar to 151, but it wasn't actually 151. But now I like even down to because people was like, oh, you know they don't sell at 151 anymore. I was like, I know. And so they was like, well, you know they got like it's a company that makes a 151. It's called Cruising, and I was like, nope, nah, I don't. Like I've tried it, and I was like, no, I'm cool, I'm good. Like y'all can have it. Let me know how it is.
I don't fuck with turkey, man.
Yeah,
If
I've done wild. I mean, I've done wild Irish.
If you slide me a shot of turkey when we hang out, I'm gonna slide it right back.
I've done wild Irish, but I don't. But I also know. I mean, so I've learned. Like I said, it's lanes. For me, I usually try to stay clear. I always will stay on clear, and that's because one of my first because I did 151. The variant of 151 is Bacardi. So all Bacardis, I'm good. All Absolutes, I'm good.
I can't do Absolute, man. We gotta work on our combo, man.
I mean, but you gotta also remember you're saying you're a dark drinker. So for you, it's a different avenue. I'm just like my boy. I've had folks they've done the E&J, they've done the Henny, all of that. I respect it.
I can mess with gin and juice or gin and tonic.
Yeah, like I think with Crown, I've done Crown, but Crown's not bad. Like I've got funny stories about Crown. I won't share those here. Promise. Not from me.
Listen,
these aren't my stories.
When we link, I'm gonna try to get a story from
Yeah.
He's like, no, I'm good.
No, I'll tell it off mic. I'm not going to, like I said, so the one thing, and that's something like going back to the podcasting thing, that's been my biggest important factor. Yeah. I can't speak for you, and I know you likely are. Everything's about maintaining and upholding your brand. And at first, when I first did podcasting, I didn't think about it. I was like, whatever, I'm just do what I do because this is what I do and this is who I am. But now I'm like, nah, if I'm going to make this my baby and I'm going to put time into it, then I need to put the right time into it and not kind of sort of do it. So now whenever I record or whenever I'm doing stuff, like, yeah, I'm telling stories and we're shooting a breeze about stuff now, but I'm also like still making sure that I'm considerate of what I'm sharing or where things go because you want to be respectful of others around you. Like I've made jokes, I've made statements, and you don't want to know about it. Yeah, I remember you on episode 291, you said da 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 da, and it's like, okay, what was it again? Because I forgot, and I probably was drunk, so I'm not trying to sit down here and do a PR stunt of like, hey.
No, man. No, man. So you teased me with the list of questions you got me. Can you fire one at me?
With the list of the ones that I have? I got you. Yeah. No, hey, no problem. Listen, I told you, like we talked about earlier, this off the dome, so it's gonna be a surefire shot. So my first one is who is your looking at the playoff field right now in the NBA, who
Mm.
are your teams that you're easily looking at and saying there's no chance of them making it to the finals?
No chance?
Right.
Yeah, this is actually no chance. There's no chance the Dallas Mavericks make it if they get through,
To LA.
they're playing. There's no chance the Mavericks make it.
Okay.
No, there's no chance. This may be a rough answer for some listening,
Brooklyn.
but there's no chance that the Sixers make it. And I got Milwaukee over Brooklyn in the next round.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
All
Yeah,
right.
I got Milwaukee in 7 or 6, depending.
All right.
I just think Chris Middleton has taken that next step. I watched some tonight, and he's taken that next step where everyone knows Chris Middleton's an all-star, right?
Right.
But he's taken that next step, like right in front of our eyes.
Yeah.
And I just think what hurts Milwaukee now is that one guy, I forgot his name. He's out. They got a good player that's out for the rest of the season. That may hurt him. DiVincenzo, I think his name is.
Oh yeah. I know you're talking about. Yeah.
That may. I made that pick before he got hurt, so I don't know, but I'm gonna stick with it.
Yeah. I got you.
Who's your no chance in hell?
The Jazz.
Really?
Yeah. I'm just not.
I'm not putting them as no chance. I'm not putting them. No way.
Okay.
They got the best record in the league for a reason.
Don't mean not being. I mean, you just wait. This is coming from the same person that already knocked Philly out, and they the 1 seed in the East. Okay. Hey,
Yeah, but that's different though. That's the East, bro.
The East is not okay. We gotta be realistic about it now. We can't sit here and keep saying we can't make it like the East is like child's play anymore. The East has stacked it a little bit now. But I would say the Jazz. I would say I can go ahead and say Atlanta's far from it. I'm not. Atlanta's too young. They don't have any. If they had some playoff experience and they really knew what they were doing, I would say sure.
Like no chance at all. Like we're talking about 0% chance.
Yes, no chance.
Ooh,
You gotta. They gotta show me something. Like I said, and I love Trae Young. Like from my basketball days, I used to shoot worse than him like that. I would shoot from wherever. I didn't care. But
I don't know, man. Capella's pretty underrated. Capella's
playing better now than he did when he was in Houston. I gotta love hate about him now because when he was in Houston, it was like the weirdest thing to me because him, you know what? And I guess I can say it now because we gotta really call it what it is. Him and Harden played well together, but the challenge became when you added in Chris Paul, who it's tough to. If I almost want to go on a limb and say it, I don't know if Phoenix is going to get past LA.
Oh,
because they don't have as long as Chris Paul ain't 100%. I'm not sold.
Yeah, you make a good point about Chris Paul not being 100.
It's two things, and I was telling somebody this today, and I'm probably going to be the bad guy for saying this. The X factor on Phoenix will surprise a lot of people. It's not Devin Booker. It's DeAndre Ayton.
Oh,
DeAndre Ayton. You got to remember, because a lot of people are forgetting, he was the number 1 pick in his draft class. He missed most of his rookie year due to injury. He literally, now granted, I'm not sitting here looking at him like, bro, you need to gain weight, but I'm also like, you're not a physical factor with Phoenix. He's going to look good in a couple years. I don't know if he makes any All-Star appearances. That's a reach for me to say that, but I just don't see him. And it's tough to say this because I don't like, these are words that are very risky to say, but it's truth to look at it. If we see his maximum potential, it's gonna be a flash in the pants. It's gonna be quick and over. It's not gonna be anything like, oh man, we saw a nice little stride. Like right now, I love Jason Tatum. Tatum is a great player. I don't see Tatum playing his entire career in Boston. And I know that's like a stretch of a statement, but that's me looking at it right now. So Atlanta, I would say Atlanta. I would say Utah. I forgot what I said 13 was.
I don't know.
Yeah, but between just those teams alone, I'm like, okay, they look great. I don't know if they're great in saying like, and Phoenix. And Phoenix. I said I don't see Phoenix.
Yeah, I'm not putting Phoenix as no chance. I would give them maybe like, 15% or 20%. I'm not going to say no chance.
If they they're down 2-1 right now, and they're getting ready to play game. They're playing game 4 tomorrow.
Nuggets came back from 3-1 last year, wasn't it 3-1? So I mean, the Suns.
Yeah. And you got to think about it. That team that they had last year did a pretty good job in holding it together. If we really gonna be real with it, like they did what they were supposed to do, and I'm okay with it.
The Joker's my guy, man. Denver.
I think I asked you this already. You got him as a shoo-in for Rookie of the Year?
Oh, who?
I'm sorry, not Rookie of the Year. I'm sorry, MVP. My bad.
Shoo-in's a strong word, but right now I would probably put him number 1, Embiid 2, and you could, to me, I have, I guess number 3 is Curry. The number 8 seed not even getting in kind of hurt him, but yeah, the Joker's the
okay. I gotta be this person to say this, and I think this is why I get annoyed with this title. Can the MVP just be given before we get like hot into the playoffs? Because I feel like whenever how a team plays in the playoffs affects whether players get the MVP award. Because so a lot of people didn't like this, and I understood why. The 2 times that Nash got his award, and I'm not throwing any shots at him getting it.
Well, Steve Nash is one of the legends, man.
Yeah, I mean, no, I'm giving flowers, but I'm about to slow walk this on a different level. If you really look at the team and you really look at how they played, I see how he earned his MVP. Because valuable means if I take this player off of this team, can they still win? And it's a lot of players who easily can go in that conversation. Like, you can take any of those, like the Brooklyn trio. If you take any of those 3, they still have a strong chance of winning. Adding the third person just gives them an added push. So that's why none of them were really in that conversation of, hey, we should be looking at them to go into finals. Well, I'm not finals, but MVP conversation. Like Steph, what's tough about Steph is Steph literally was like a one-man band.
Yeah.
Like after Steph went like into his bag of like, I can shoot and I can play, everybody knew what Steph could do, but now it was like, all right, Steph tied.
Yeah, like
Steph ran. If you really look at the game against Memphis and the game against LA, I'll even go with the game against LA. He was playing on fumes. I'm not justifying it in any way, shape, or form, but you only gonna get what you can get in what you see and what's available.
Right. What's your thought on the evolution kind of Luka? Are you a Luka guy?
I think Luka doesn't get. Okay, I'm gonna answer this. I'm gonna make this statement and then I'm gonna come back to that. Do you think Luka would look different if he was in Atlanta?
In Atlanta, you're saying with Trae Young or without?
No. You do remember that they both got traded in the draft.
Oh, I don't remember that.
So when the draft, no one really talks about this, and this is very important to bring into this question. When the draft was made, when that specific draft class was done, it was. I'm gonna have to make sure I look this up because I don't like being slackish on my information. I think that was a 2018 class.
I don't know, but
No, you good. I'm gonna get it really, really. Yep, here we go. All right, so boom, here we go. So we got DeAndre Ayton was number 1. Marvin Bagley was number 2. We still waiting on that, by the way. Number 3, Atlanta picked Luka Doncic. Number 4 was Jaren Jackson, which I think he's actually coming into his own. It's just because he's with Memphis, it's tough to say. And number 5 was Trae Young. They decided to swap those picks in the draft because that then makes you wonder, could Trae Young and Dirk have worked for those, for that year that year 2 that they played together? But then it also makes you look at,
I said, that's a good point.
And then you got to look at it as Luka in Atlanta at that time, there was nobody there. So if you look at Luka's career for the 3 years we've seen, you have year 1, Luka got Rookie of the Year. Great. Awesome year. He did his thing. Second year, he's in the coming of his own form. Even conversation came up of possible MVP consideration. Okay, I'll give you that. This year, he's been statistically killing it, but he hasn't been, and I don't want to say this to throw shade, but I'm saying it because it's true. He hasn't been Westbrooking his triple doubles. He's been
you gotta think about it. He's 22.
Right. And he also played overseas, like in a different, like he was able to play against other guys who, were doing what he did. So he learned the game at a quicker pace. Let me make sure, and I want to make sure repeat your question again so I can be sure I'm answering this right.
I even forgot my question. I know it's about Luka. I think I said, what's your thoughts on Luka?
I think Luka is playing the game in a way that no one expected him to play it. But he's evolving into the game. This is probably going to sound like I'm a hater for what I'm about to say. They need to get Porzingis out of there.
Ooh, because there's probably some I have a decent New York audience, the Knicks and everything.
And I'm not. I wonder still to this day if Thibodeau got there earlier, would he have stayed?
That's why I didn't. By the way, that's why I didn't put Knicks on that 0% because I have the New York listenership.
I got you. I respect it. Like I said, I'm not. See, for me, my listenership is, hey, what you see is what you get. I'm just
saying. I know my bread's buttered, and New York is one of them.
Yeah, but I mean, in all fairness, I mean, I like Luka as a player. Luka just need the right pieces around him. Cause it's even something like somebody brought up like you were saying that you think there's no chance in hell of them making it. I had somebody today that was like, I think I could see them getting to the finals. And I was like, if they get the right run at the right time, it's possible. The main thing is when you're playing against certain teams, you just gotta if your best game outplays your opponent's best game, then you win the championship or you go to the next round. That's literally, and I know that sounds like very simple, but that's kind of the basis of basketball. Like so like last year, Giannis the Bucks played against Milwaukee. The Bucks did not bring their best game to that series. Miami.
You mean the Bucks played against someone? Oh, I think you said something else. Sorry, Miami. Okay, I misheard you.
Are you good? So when the Bucks played Miami, the Bucks didn't bring their best game. They got sent home. The roles reversed this year where the Bucks brought their best game and Miami just played flat. So by them playing flat, it ended in the result that it did. Like how a team plays or how like what their output is going to show in what we see as the final result of that series. Like I've said it before and I've mentioned it. I said it earlier today and I'll stand behind it. I think the Knicks Hawks series could go 7 games.
Oh, wow. All right. Well, let's make our championship picks, man. So who's your pick to win the championship?
That is a tough God. It's right there in broad daylight. I'm picking Brooklyn.
Ooh.
I'm really picking Brooklyn. And the only reason I think Brooklyn is going, I have a stronger shot on Brooklyn is because, and this isn't my stat, this isn't me reaching, and this isn't me going off of wild instinct. This is just observation. They've been playing better defense. Like a lot of the guys on that team, their team defense is a lot different than most teams' defense. Because at first, if we gonna call it what it is, James Harden defensively was not the most defensive player at one time. But now having a team that can help you in playing defense, like help ball defense is very important in basketball, and no one talks about that. Like the obvious, everyone can easily say the obvious pick of saying LA, and I like LA. I love LeBron, but I don't feel like neither him nor AD are playing at 80%.
Right. I'm
It's
going
their
with,
health.
I'm going
Their
with,
health concerns. Huh?
Yeah, I'm going with Milwaukee
Okay.
over the Lakers in 6.
Okay. Like
So,
I said, the only problem I would like to pick Milwaukee just always Milwaukee's. That's my
this year
only
is
concern.
different. I feel I'm watching their first round. They swept, by the way. They're already moving on.
Yeah.
They look different, man. I'm telling you. I know it's
They
hard.
looked different
These
last
guys
year.
trust me, they just look different. It's
Okay.
a different Milwaukee team.
I will say this. I'll say this about Milwaukee. Drew Holiday is a big factor. And when I say a big factor, he is a big factor. Like,
Yeah, he's a sneaky all-star talent.
Yeah. But I mean, all-stars are like MVPs to me. It's an unfair conversation for guys because there are some guys who should be in the all-star game that don't make it because of the lack of popularity or because of the style of how they vote. Like,
yeah,
once
Fox,
the game went,
Fox out of Sacramento, De'Aaron Fox. I mean, there's a couple of them.
De'Aaron Fox could make, and you know what's interesting? De'Aaron Fox is sneaky good. And when I say sneaky good, I mean.
And no one talks about him because he's in Sacramento.
Because of the location, yeah. That's
No one
the
cares.
$1 million component.
It's the one franchise that people care less about than the Magic.
That is, I mean,
It's true.
you would have to go back to when they were playing LA, it was a big deal. I'm gonna ask you this, and I don't know how, like I said, I don't know how much more we want to get into, but
We'll just close up shop here in a couple minutes.
got you. What are your thoughts about Chris Webber? And I'll explain what I mean, because I don't want to just say that and not explain where I'm going with this. Recently he made the Hall, which he's going to be in the Hall of Fame next year. And that's a big deal. Jalen Rose, was supporting him, and it kind of made the evidence clear that him and Jalen Rose are trying to get things back on track. And by the way, before we go any further, if I say this, because I'm always reminding myself to not say it on my show, we will have no conversation about the number 1 pick from the 2001 NBA draft. And the only reason why is because he's been on a very huge tirade on YouTube, and I want to keep it that way. So we'll just leave it at that. If you know who I'm talking about, we're just going to go just segue and move forward, because he's been on a rampage like no other, and I want him to continue what he's doing and surpass our podcast. Please and thank you. But I'm saying, because I only said it because Jalen Rose, I think, addressed him about something, and like he responded, like he was supporting it, and I was like, whatever. But the conversation of the reason I'm asking about this is Chris Webber was fired from TNT, and the odd part of it is there's nothing that really said why he got fired, but the question of the idea of what happened with March Madness came to mind, because he was kind of outright and saying, I don't look to, it was like he didn't plan or wasn't intending to do any highlights. Well, not highlights, but he wasn't going to be commentating any of the games in the bubble for March Madness. So how do you feel in what you know about Chris Webber? Like, do you think TNT should have fired him? Do you feel like he will get another job?
To be honest, I don't know too much about that situation. I mean, I think I vaguely heard about it.
Okay.
But I think the way the world is that people, they have their opinions. And sometimes I think that people, don't give others like the opportunity. I'm not saying he's right or wrong. I'm just saying,
right.
Was it his opinion? I don't know too much about it. You can tell me what happened if you want.
I got you. I mean, I think they talked to him, if I'm remembering this right, because I almost want to say I had this story from my, when I was doing my last episode, where Chris Webber leaving TNT. Yeah, he's leaving. So he was kicked out from being on TNT ahead of the playoffs. He was not a part of TNT's Thursday night broadcast, which was the network's last game of the season. Reggie Miller filled in for Webber as play-by-play announcer, with Marv Albert. He has called games for TNT since 2008. Let's see because it was another. I want to make sure I get the right. It was one article that said it may have to do with the fact that, Webber's contract was set to expire at the end of the season. An earlier report stated that the possibility of an extension was very much in question. Nevertheless, something significant must have happened for both parties to make a rather abrupt decision at a crucial juncture in the season. It looks like TNT and/or Webber could not wait any longer and had to part immediately. The timing of the divorce is clearly suspect. Broadcasters often finish out either a contract or a season. In this case, Webber calling one final set of NBA playoff games for TNT and then calling it a day with Turner. That did not happen here. It raised a lot of eyebrows. It's hard to imagine that there's more to this issue than what's on the surface. It is worth noting that Chris Webber had a falling out with TNT back in March when he decided not to take part in the NCAA tournament coverage in the Indianapolis bubble. Turner officials were reportedly quite understanding about the situation at hand, but what drew their ire was how Webber waited until last minute before making his decision. This left TNT scrambling for a replacement, and it looks like the issue took quite a toll on the relationship between both camps.
Oh, so basically it was him just doing something that they didn't appreciate or approve of. He probably did something without letting them know or something.
Yeah, by not, I mean, from reading that, it was basically like, all right, I'm gonna, at the last minute, I'm gonna decide that I don't want to commentate this game. Cool. If you don't want to commentate it, that's fine. But if you not giving them proper notice then puts them, it tied their hands in trying to get somebody in that seat to handle it.
Because they're paying them good money.
Of course.
You know.
That's why I still get mad, and I mean it's done and over with now, but that's why I still get mad with Paul Pierce about messing up the bag with ESPN.
Oh, that shit was hilarious. Did you see the video?
I think I caught a couple snippets of it, but I didn't watch it.
He had like some broad like grinding, like she looked like a stripper.
Yeah. Like somebody had to explain to one of the guys on I Am Athlete, they were like, you can't do that type of stuff on live. Like that is there again, that goes back to the brand. Like you have to uphold and maintain your brand. Like even if you got another bag or another opportunity that came up, that's cool, but you're also putting your brand or your
yeah, but he made the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, he made the Hall. He was gonna make the Hall, but I mean, he was a given for making the Hall. I saw that coming.
Yeah.
I ain't gonna lie. Side note, it was interesting watching Tim Duncan, because I talked about this on the podcast last week.
Mm-hmm.
Watching Tim Duncan give his speech with hair was like the type, with his new hairstyle, I was like, okay, whatever. It was cool seeing David Robinson bring him up on stage, you know, or bringing him into the Hall. And I noticed when he talked about teammates, he talked about Ginobili, he talked about Tony Parker, he talked about Popovich. He said not a single word about Kawhi Leonard. Very interesting to me. That
Well, to be
Jerry,
fair, wasn't Kawhi a rookie?
no. When they won the championship?
Yeah.
No. Kawhi had been in the league for a couple years at that time.
Oh, well.
He had kind of started to like cement his own leg. And I mean, the thing that's still mind blowing to me before I forget to say this is Tim Duncan won a championship at the age of 38. Can we like really think about how, and I ain't gonna just say won it. Kawhi led that team, but you really look at the team and you look at the way the game was played and just every piece of that dynasty, like the team that they have with Ginobili, Parker, and Duncan, and just how San Antonio ran their organization. It's not talked about enough, and it's mind blowing to me. But I'm excited to see.
I thought that they were going to sneak into the playoffs as the 8th seed.
Oh, you talking about from the playing game?
Yeah.
And it's funny you say that. Lonnie Walker I'm still waiting to see when the real Lonnie Walker is coming. I don't think that, and I like Keldon Johnson, but I think Keldon Johnson doesn't play to his maximum yet. Or he's not playing to his maximum yet. At least that's my observation. Yeah, Kawhi has been in the league so he was with Miami for 7 years. And I mean, he was with San Antonio. Where did Miami come from? He was with San Antonio for 7 years, and he won the championship there in 2014. So that was like it had to be like his second or third year.
Oh, okay. All right, man. This has been a fun catch up, man. It's been a while. I can't remember the last time you were on. It was it a year ago?
It was over a year ago because I think when we did our last recording, COVID didn't happen. I don't know. I'm trying to remember if I don't think COVID had happened. I don't think Kobe had passed.
No.
Yes. So it would have been, you looking at like 2019 maybe?
Something like that.
Yeah, nearly 2 years.
It's always a good time catching up with you, man. I really appreciate your time.
Appreciate it, man.
And we'll have to link, all right?
No doubt. I'll do a quick plug. Check out the past BT Pod weekly episodes. This episode will be one of them, of course. I'm using a unique platform to promote the podcast as well as life called TikTok. And you can check me out on Instagram, Twitter, the usual spots. I don't have a Facebook page for my podcast for personal reasons, but all other platforms, I'm very interactive, very fun. Brightsay 1982. Come get some good inspiration if you want to mentally get a recharge, and that's all I got. I know you probably gonna give me a closeout, but I want to make sure I throw the wild cards in there.
I told you, man, I said, when I invited you on, I said, hey, man, it's an open forum, so.
Yeah. No, it was dope. Like I said, we were overdue to talk, and I know it was like some riveting stuff. Oh, and before I forget, because of course this is what delayed the show, shout out to the Chelsea Blues for getting that, we didn't do our best in the Premier League. We got fourth in Premier League, but we did win the champion. I probably did not do that right, but we got out of the UEFA Champions League, which I did not know that was our second Champions League ever. And
didn't Drogba win? I thought Drogba got a championship or something.
He did, and I think they said it was like a while back. It was like it was a minute. It was a ways back. But I didn't know the significance of this match.
Brian and I are both fans of Chelsea. Chelsea
Blues all day. I rock.
A team based in they're in London, right? London, England.
Yes, they are. They are play so their main field they play at is in Stamford Bridge. They played the game. The game today was at Etihad in Man City or Etihad Stadium.
My brother's an Everton fan.
For real.
Yeah.
I know y'all go through it.
Oh, yeah. We do. We do.
Yeah, but it was a good match. Like, it was funny because I was supposed to get to the place to watch the game. I thought the game started at 3:30. Turned out pitch was at 3. Fine. I'm late. I'll accept it. But I was getting ready to try to get to the game. And as I'm in the process of getting prepared, I go out to try to start my car. No luck, struggling. I said, this is not going well. I might not be able to go. Luckily, I live near someone who is able to fix cars. And he went out and took he had like compressed air or something like that. And he sprayed some stuff in there and it was like, all right, turn the car. And it just turned on. I was like, all right, looks like I'm on my way. Traveled, got to the game. Now, when I was leaving and going to the game, the pitch had game started. No one had scored that whole time of me going to the game. As soon as I got into the bar and got settled in, and I got my first drink, Chelsea scored. And that was the only score of the game. My friend who watched it, oddly enough, who is a Liverpool fan, and we have like love-hate relationships with each other. Like last year, I was very supportive but petty at the same time about Liverpool winning. But he was looking for Chelsea and Man City both to score, and Chelsea scored, and that was it. So I was like, oh, word, we won the joint. And when the final score hit, I was like, I felt bad because he didn't get the bag. But on the flip side, I was like, I mean, hey, my team won. That was kind of my main priority.
Yeah.
So, like I said, we didn't have the greatest Premier League season, but we have a chance of getting into the Champions League again next year, which is, good, especially with our new manager. Tuchel's been pretty good. Frank Lampard was interesting, but we kind of saw how that went. I wouldn't even say it was that it wasn't that they didn't give him a chance. He just didn't take advantage of the chance that he had. That's how I look at it.
Yeah, man. Yeah, dude. I remember the days of Drogba and SEN and all that.
You probably was there. I think we talked about it before because you were from not Suarez. Damn, what's his name?
The guy from Belgium. I was big into him.
Yeah, I know you're talking about number 10. God, I can't remember his name because he's in Real now.
But he was underrated.
Yeah, like when I became a fan, Willian was there.
Willian, yeah.
I was from the Willian, Eto. I was from those days. That's when I became a Chelsea fan.
I was a little before. I was a fan during the Drogba time.
Fernando Torres. That's when I started to watch them because I remember when he was there and I was like, Torres can play, like I think when they got their first championship, when I became a fan and they won the championship, I think it was another guy who was like, I think Mourinho was still the manager at the time. Cause like when Mourinho ran the team pretty good, but when they brought in the other guy, Conte, it was just like, oh, this is gonna be a little rough right now. We're gonna see how this goes, but
hey, a rough go of it, as the Englishmen say.
Yes, big time.
All right, man. Well, you have a good night.
You too. Thanks for having me on, and hopefully y'all enjoyed this show.
Man.
We'll definitely be looking up again soon.
Yeah, we link soon, bro.
Yeah, no doubt.
I'll let you know details as I get closer, all right?
Got you, man.
All right, man. Later.
All right. Yep. Peace. You have made it to the end of yet another episode of the Pass BT Pod. I hope you gained something or walked away with some worthwhile information, whether it was related to any of the information provided about sports, about music, about technology, or possibly my personal fave, the Pass the Message. We want you to come in with an open mind and an open heart and walk away with something that's going to benefit you and carry you through your day, through your week, through your month, through your life. And that's the main objective here on the Pass. So I hope you were able to receive that. If you are looking to get find a good place to host your podcast, you can check out buzzsprout.com. And if you're also looking to invest in a microphone, a lot of people have their angst or their differences towards it. but I'm currently using the Blue Yeti X, and I've been using it for a little over a year, and it's still to this day one of my best investments I've made. And if I always give this as my closing tip. If you are a creative and you have the space to create, do not do your least to give your best effort towards what you're good at doing. Until next time, y'all take it easy.